2015, og en ganske særlig filmvisning af Nekromantik. Vi er utrolig glade for at have filmens instruktør med os i aften, så byd hjertelig velkommen til Jörg Buttgereit. I'm gonna switch to English now. We are doing it a bit reverse today. We're actually gonna do an introduction and a Q&A before the film.
Because I don't want to stay. I've seen it before.
I'm pretty sure a lot of you have as well. How many people have seen this film before?
Here you go.
There we go.
You don't have to wait.
No, exactly.
But this is the only existing 35mm print. Ooh. I hope you still know what 35mm is in the digital age. The movie was actually shot on Super 8 film stock, and then later on blown up to 35mm, and you're going to see the only existing print on 35mm. Yeah, that's the version you should see, I think.
If I can just start it off, then I think basically, can you tell us your version of the Nekromantik story, about the film, about its inception, about what happened afterwards, about the sequel, and everything going into this film?
Okay, this will take 1 hour at least.
I'm sorry.
Well, the film was made in 1986 and 87 and released in January 1988. 27 years ago. 28 years, something like this. And I don't know, today it's called a horror movie, but when it was made, for me it was more like an underground movie, because the Berlin, Berlin being a wall city in the mid-80s, was a place where a lot of artists were hanging out, and everybody who was living in Berlin didn't have to go to the military. So there were only artists in Berlin. So we had this special kind of flair or of movement. All of my friends were doing music, and I was a big film fan, being socialized as a kid with Godzilla movies and Universal Frankenstein movies. So I had made like 10 or 15 short films before Nekromantik, and this was my first feature film. A friend of mine gave me, well, he didn't give me any money, but he gave me his friend, who was a Super 8 cameraman, which is something very unique. Someone who could handle a Super 8 camera in a professional way, because during that time Super 8 was not something fancy or something artistic, but it was something, like Big Daddy was doing films of his family in front of the Christmas tree. So we never told anybody that this film was shot on Super 8 because we were ashamed of it. Today you can tell everybody because it sounds arty. And in Germany, there was a very strict censorship law. All kind of horror movies were banned or censored in Germany. So Nekromantik was kind of a protest film against this censorship movement, and I wanted to make a point by doing a film on my own and putting it into the cinemas on my own, and also distributing it later on VHS on my own. So this was the whole concept of doing yourself in the punk spirit of these years. So this is kind of the underground story behind it. The fact that the horror film audience embraced this movie was something that was not surprising to me, but my big influences were more the early films of John Waters. I don't know if you're Pink When I saw Pink Flamingos, I thought to myself, oh, there's some weird guy in Baltimore, and he's doing a movie, and he shot his film on 60mm, did a blow up to 35, and I could see it in Germany in a cinema, and that was something I was totally amazed of. And so this was my inspiration, I think. And I met John Waters a few times doing interviews with him for German magazines. And after the third meeting, he remembered me, finally. So he even gave me a quote for the Nekromantik poster. The first erotic film for necrophiliacs, or something like that. So, but here you can see that it's actually a love story and not so much of a horror film. And we didn't really have a script when we started the movie, because it took like 2 years, so we had plenty of time to develop some kind of storyline on the way. And I think I also kind of was the executive producer, you could say, because I had to phone everybody to be on location. It wasn't a location, it was always, you know, some places in Berlin where we just went to, and a lot of scenes were shot in the backyard of the producer, because he had this little backyard, and we just built the whole cemetery stuff there, and I had to dig, you know, the graves out, because it was only like 3 or 5 people behind the camera, and all the actors are non-actors. It's friends of mine. The main character, Dr. Ray Lawrence, he also did parts of the soundtrack. And the most difficult thing was to tell the people, you know, during that period of time, over a period of 2 years, not to change the hairdo and the hair color, which was something really difficult during that time. And another thing that was very difficult was that Beatrice, the main actress, and Dr. the main actor, they really hated each other, but they had to play a loving couple. Thank God there was also a fight scene in this movie with the both of them, and we just shot that after they had a fight on set. So that was the stuff we had to make up on the fly. And I think to me it's very... Yeah, it's very strange to actually think that people take this film seriously, because I just did this on weekends with my friends, and I don't believe a single frame in this film. You know, it's so weird that after all these years, it makes some sense in a way. For some reason, I have no clue how, because you know there is no clever marketing concept behind this. This was long before the internet. I just made this movie, and out of a sudden bootleg copies were popping up all over the world, and people were earning money with my movie. And yeah, I was running around with film prints. I was spending lots of money to do this 35mm blow up for about, yeah, like, I don't know in kronas, but it cost about 6,000 euros just to do the print, which was half of the budget of the movie, I think. But yeah, for some reason, and now we have a Blu-ray and different editions in Great Britain, and so to me this is all very strange. Yeah. Because if I watch it, I still feel like, how could because it's not, you know, you could tell that there's no concept really. For some reason it works, but the cameraman did make sure to tell me every evening after shooting, you can't edit this stuff. This won't add up. It's a total mess, and it was not very. Yeah, it was strange. Yeah, and he's still amazed too, I think.
We have any questions from the audience? You, sir.
Yes, I heard that the German court ordered the prints of Nekromantik destroyed.
That was actually Nekromantik 2 that got confiscated by a district attorney in Munich. there's a small cinema in Munich called Werkstattkino, and they by now distribute the film prints of my movies. Actually, this film print comes from Werkstattkino, and they used to screen my movies in Munich. And Munich, you know, is Bavaria, south of Germany. It's the most difficult place where I could screen my movies, so it was always the last stop. With the first Nekromantik, nobody really seemed to notice, but the second movie was a little bit more, famous maybe, I don't know. But there was a police raid during the screening, and they charged me for being the director. They charged the projectionist, a very brave woman, for screening this film to an audience, and they charged the producer for producing the film. And the case they wanted to make was that my movie is glorifying violence. That's kind of a criminal term in Germany. It's a certain paragraph that was invented to get rid of Nazi propaganda. And it was very convenient to use this paragraph, glorifying violence, on horror movies, because then it was not art, but it was a criminal act that I did. So to get my money back, so they were searching our houses to get the negatives of the film and destroy it. We told them that we shipped the negative to the US because it was coming out there on video tapes. They believed us. It was, you know, hidden. Actually, we rented a special flat to do that. To hide all the film prints, and we shot Schramm there. Schramm is the movie I did in 1992, 1993. And when you watch the movie, you can always tell yourself, you know, under the floor where Schramm, the main actor, lives, all our film negative prints are lying. That was where the film prints were. So it took me about 2 years to convince the court that my film is art, and I got my film back, but I had 2 years where I could not get my money back for the movie. And the Americans were totally happy. They could, you know, put a sticker on the VHS tape, banned in Germany. They made money again. So it's a long story of people making money with a movie. So that was the censorship case with Nekromantik 2. And the movie is still banned in a lot of countries. I'm sometimes, occasionally, invited to film festivals, and then a few days before the festival start, they tell me, well, we can't invite you because the movie is banned now. This was, you know, during the 80s and 90s. Singapore, for example.
New Zealand and Australia still, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to Bergen next month, to a death metal festival where they will screen Nekromantik as well. And I've been told that there will be a lot of death metal musicians and fans who have tattoos of my posters all over the body. I don't know if this is good or bad. Actually, there was one girl. You know, there's a Facebook page from a Swedish guy called Jörg Buttgereit fans, and one girl just posted a photo of her arm, and she did a scarification of Der Todesking. You know, this little, and you know, scarification is like doing scars, and a very fresh scar of Der Todesking, very bloody on an arm. When you get mails like this, you are not sure if this is good or bad. But I took the photo and put it in the booklet of the new Blu-ray release of Todesking, so I hope that's okay. Because normally that's something you find, you know, in a Slayer cover or something. You say, wow! You know, yelling Slayer for no reason. There's a page like this, you find stuff like this. But being a serious artist, as I am, I'm not so sure what this means. Because, you know, I did these films many years ago, and I still do stuff, but I mostly work in theatre now, and I did German Angst with a few friends. which was another mistake, money-wise. But you will have a chance on, I think, Sunday.
Yeah.
Kiddies matinee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's very strange.
Don't blame me.
But it's good. I'm going to bed quite early, so that's okay.
Do we have any more questions?
Yeah. I'd like to know what have you been involved with since you did your, I believe it was your last film in the 90s, Schramm.
Schramm, yeah. Well, after Schramm, it's a lot of stuff. After Schramm, I think I did The Killer Condom. I did second unit direction on that. That's a movie, a German movie. Oh no, it's a movie from Switzerland, Kondom des Grauens. The second one was released by Troma in the US, and I did all the special effects for that. And that was the first time where I could pay my crew, because there was money involved. But the fact that there was a lot of money involved also made it happen that all the special effects I did were cut out of the film, because it was a 12 rating and not an 18 rating when the film was finished. Then I went to Canada to work on a sci-fi series called Lex the Dark Zone. I did 2 episodes for those. But that was all, like stuff that was not very satisfying. So I started to do radio plays, a very old-fashioned thing. Radio dramas for German nationwide radio. I did kind of the same plots I did in my movies, but only for radio, and I got paid very well, and the budget was 3 times as high as on my movies. So I did radio dramas like Frankenstein in Hiroshima, The Beast of Fukushima, Sexplosion in Shinjuku, Sex Monster, Green Frankenstein. I'm trying to do English translations, but I could do it in German probably. The last one I did has a very good title. Das Märchen vom unglaublichen Super Kim aus Pyongyang. It's like the fairy tale of Super Kim from Pyongyang, which is actually like a fairy tale style story about Kim Jong-il, the film producer. I don't know if you know that Kim Jong-il was a film producer, and he did actually made a Japanese, North Korean co-production monster movie, which is amazing. Pulgasari.
It's screened in Denmark last year.
Ah yeah, cool. So, so all these kind of stuff I did. And then I started to work for the stage, because in Germany it's still a very bad idea to do horror movies, career-wise. So I started to do stage work. I did a stage play called Captain Berlin vs. Hitler, which is like Captain America only from German. And I'm doing comic books with Captain Berlin now. And I'm writing about film. And I'm doing a lot of stage work in Dortmund. That's like in the middle of Germany. And I did like 5 stage plays there for the last 5 years. The first one was based on my old radio plays Sex Monster and Green Frankenstein, like a grindhouse double bill for the stage. Then I did a stage play about Edward Gein, the grave robber from the 50s who inspired Psycho, which was called Kannibale und Liebe, which is kind of a joke about this Friedrich Schiller piece. Then I did a stage version of The Elephant Man, more based on the David Lynch film and not so much on the real stage play. Then I did Nosferatu lebt, which is kind of a stage version of the old Murnau 1922 horror movie, which is amazing because it's a stage play, a silent stage play. The actors don't talk, they can just, they do like this, and then you have the lines in the back. It's really amazing, and the actors loved it because they didn't have to memorize all the dialogue. And actually, today's Friday, right? 1 week ago, we had the world premiere of my latest stage play called Besessen, Possessed, which is a stage play about my possession with the movie The Exorcist. I was 10 years old when that movie came out in the US, and I was totally obsessed with seeing that movie, but I couldn't because I was so small. So it's a stage play about this and the fact that someone from the audience in this stage house gets possessed with the spirit of Linda Blair. Linda Blair's not very happy about her career, you know, she's like a vegan now and she's acting for animal rights. So you have this crying little girl there and these horror nerds thinking, wow, you acted in woman in prison movies, cool. And she said, no, I'm against child abuse. She's peeing on the stage, everything. And I got very good reviews, even from very serious newspapers. So that's what I do. And I did, with some friends, they talked me into doing one episode for German Angst. But I earn my money on the stage and doing radio plays and writing. And yeah, if I do a movie, I always spend money and don't earn money. So that's...
So that's the obvious question. Is
Yeah.
there any more movies on the horizon?
I can't afford it, sorry. It just doesn't make sense in Germany because horror movies have such a bad reputation. And my goal now is to do like books and write about horror movies to get a better reputation in Germany, and to do stage plays, because if you work for the stage, it's money from the government, and I got paid well, I can pay my actors, which is something I could never do if I would take a camera. Yeah, I mean we did do crowdfunding for German Angst, and yeah, with that money we did the trailer.
I think we have time for one or two more questions of this.
Yeah. Whenever a horror magazine or website does a list of the most unpleasant and disturbing horror movies ever made, Nekromantik always pops up on those lists.
Yeah.
What's your own take on horror that's disturbing and gory versus horror that uses suspense and scares? What do you prefer?
But I know that I can't really do suspense. That's why I did the other thing.
As Stephen King says, go for the gross out.
Yeah. For some reason, suspense works with me when I do work for the stage. When we did this Edward Gein stage play, there was actually a woman in the first row fainting, which was something nobody really believed, because we had to stop the show, and she was taken out by some doctors and stuff, and everybody was this is a joke, and nobody believed it. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of I'm getting more sensitive, I think. If I see a movie like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when I saw it for the first time, I was disappointed. If I see it today, I think it's totally amazing and far out, and one of the best things that ever happened to film. And I'm still very keen on like these little films, these first-time films that accidentally happen to be great. And that's why I don't think I would be able to do another film like Nekromantik today, because I know too much. Yeah. When I did this film, I was quite naive and innocent, and that prevented me from being, of doing a calculated movie, you know. Even if I really like, like superhero blockbusters and stuff like this, I still like little dirty films. Some of the French horror movies that came out the last years really freaked me out. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I'm also kind of bored by horror movies. My friends are always talking, you have to see Walking Dead season 6. And I said, I was falling asleep in season 3. Why? Because horror movies, it's all the same again and again, and sometimes I like it. I'm a really big Godzilla fan. I wrote 2 German books about Japanese monster movies. I traveled to Japan to interview all the people, and Godzilla movies are also based on the fact that it's always the same, But I couldn't work this way, so for me it must be something different. But it's also very nice, of course, if something stays the same. And to me, horror is getting too safe if it's always the same. So if the magazines I write for ask me if I want to do a review of Saw number 29, I mostly say no. Even if they pay me to watch the movie, I just don't care.
I think that's all the time we have. You're going to be here tomorrow at the market, right?
Yes.
So any questions from here on and after you see the film, you can find Jörg here tomorrow. And of course on Sunday at the screening of German Angst, you're going to be here as well. Yes. Do you have any final words of introduction to the film? Anything you want to say before we start?
No.
Thank you very much for being here.
Just keep in mind this movie is 27 years old, and I was 23 years old when I did it.